Hello everyone, welcome back to Rolling Solo. My name is Adam Smith. Today I'm going to be unboxing a game called Set a Watch. This is designed by Todd Walsh and is published by Rock Manor Games. What's really cool about this one is on the channel in the past, if you remember, I did a Kickstarter preview and playthrough for this particular game in its early stages when it was a prototype. This is always fun to do and revisit a game in its final production stage, so we can actually take a look at the differences between the prototype as well as this final version and do a little comparison as to how the Kickstarter enhanced the final product. So that's always really cool. Now, if you're trying to find out more information on how this game plays and what it's all about, you're going to want to check out my Kickstarter preview, which I'll link to in the top right hand corner of this video. You'll be able to click on the eye up there and that will take you directly to this playthrough we covered earlier on. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead, take a look at the back of this box as well as take off the slipcover and dive inside Set a Watch. The kingdom is in grave danger. Powerful enemies are conspiring to resurrect the vile and powerful Unhallowed that your party has just slain. Now you, the mighty adventurers of the land, must visit these summoning locations and defeat the hordes of creatures behind this evil plot. It falls to 4 mighty adventurers, each of whom has a unique set of skills, to band together once more to vanquish this evil before the Unhallowed consume the world in darkness. In Set a Watch, a cooperative game for 1 to 4 players, you must secure 9 locations to prevent the acolytes from breaking the seals holding back the evil Unhallowed. Each round, your party will visit a new location and choose an adventurer to rest and take strategic camp actions. The rest of the party will assume watch and confront a line of creatures attempting to breach your camp. Using your dice to do battle and activate unique class abilities, your team will need to approach each round's combat puzzle with both cunning and resolve. In an epic campaign to stay alive, defeat the arisen Unhallowed, and keep the campfire burning, you must use your wits and skill to fight for the light, or all will perish to darkness. Now, the cover of the box here for Set a Watch is actually quite beautiful in and of itself. It's also really cool because it is magnetized, so the top of this box lid will actually click into position once it's secured like so, which is really nice for ensuring that when this box is tipped over or stored sideways, everything's not going to come tumbling out. So we're going to go ahead and open up the box for the very first time, and as I mentioned, even in the Kickstarter preview, what's really cool is that the inside of the box itself is used as a part of the gameplay. As you can see here, we're going to actually zoom it a little bit further so you can see that clearly. What I really like about using the inside of the box itself is it's very smartly designed to be able to become the board itself that you're playing when you actually set the game up. So again, in terms of a footprint on the table, it's not going to take up that much space. We'll flip this around so you can see this right side up later on. For now, we're going to focus on the rulebook. Now we're going to take a look at the Set a Watch rulebook, which comes in at just under 20 pages. 20 pages if you include the round overview and card priority on the back of the rulebook. I really do like this in games when they leave this on the back of the rulebook so you don't have to go diving into it to find the generic overview of the game itself. But to be totally honest, once you consume the 20 pages of the rulebook, you're raring to go. This is not a game that's going to take a long time for you to learn, and it's also not going to take a long time for you to play. This is a great solo filler game and is going to find its way to the table more often than not. So what you can see here inside the rulebook is the layout, of course, game setup, and that's all laid out really nicely, easy to consume, shows you just how small of a footprint on the table it's going to take up. It literally is the box that you're seeing underneath the rulebook, and then of course some cards strewn out right here. The only footprint that could potentially increase in size is this line going out this way, but for the most part that is very small in comparison to most board games these days. So it's really nice to see a game that again is not going to take forever to consume the rulebook on. So there is 19 pages, I believe, if you're including the glossary here at the very back. And now you've got a general idea of the rulebook in terms of how it looks and feels. And here's a look at the D8s within the game. You can see there is 9 of them right here, 3 blue, 3 of this greenish color here, and 3 purple. And again, these are going to relate back to, depending on what type of character you choose, some of these dice will be used and some of them won't be used. Next up, we have these beautiful D6s, of which there are 9, 3 red, 3 orange, and 3 yellow, all with numerical values on them rather than pips. So again, you won't have any problem seeing these from a distance. Now we have some nice wooden tokens found inside the game. You can see there's 3 levels of the fire here, yellow, orange, and red. You also have some camp tokens, and these camp tokens are definitely a huge jump up in quality from the camp tokens that were included in the prototype. All of these look really nice. Now we're going to go through some of the mini cards in the game. If you feel like pausing the screen as I go to read the abilities, feel free. The top section of the card here has artwork, and it stays the same across cards with the same banner color. So an elf in this case will be using these types of abilities, and so on and so forth. So they're all categorized for you, and there's some pretty cool abilities in here, and some of this text might have changed even from the prototype version I used to this final version, but the artwork here keeps changing with each of these different characters. So you got Berserker and Cleave, Tame Beast. I definitely remember this set right here. Tame Beast, Set Snares, Animal Sentry, Hunt. I remember using that character for sure. And of course you have to play with 4 characters even when you're playing solo. So majority of these ones could have been used in the Kickstarter preview, but it has been some time since I've referenced that video. Throwing Daggers, Backstab, Smoke Bomb, Stay Dead. This is definitely a rogue type character. Rebuke, Cleanse Undead, Banish, Blinding Light, and Protective Ward. We also have this pack of cards here. Shield Bash, Magic Sword, Taunt, Dragon Lance, Inspire, Song of Discord, Siren Song, Line Dance, Harmonize, and Song of Pain. Now I think it's time to go through the standard size cards in this game. This is the back of some of the cards, and you've got the campfire there, and then you've got this symbol right here. Now both these symbols have a place inside of this setup box on the inside flap or in the base of this box. We'll talk about that later on. But for now, we'll flip these over and actually take a look at these cards up close. I may not be able to go through every single one of these, but I'll give you a rough idea as to the artwork and the layout of the majority of these cards. They are quite beautiful. The artwork is really, really immersive, and you're going to look at some of this artwork and want to stare at it a little longer. It's really cool location-wise at all the different things that you can venture into. The dark woods, for instance, the remote tavern, the mountain keep. I really was impressed, actually, even in the prototype with the artwork in the game. They did a good job with it overall. So you've got a whole bunch of different locations here, of which I could probably dwell on for quite a bit. So I'll just quickly move through these as much as I can while still showing you some of the fantastic artwork throughout. And then at a certain point, you run into all of the wonderful individuals that you're going to be dealing with within this world. These are going to be the ones that are going to try to breach into your camp. So enemies and things like that, warlords, just so many different types of unique enemies to go after. You see that their, abilities are obviously constantly changing along down here. This is the coolest thing, is how these enemies actually interact in the row of enemies coming towards your camp. And you're basically legitimately trying to solve a puzzle. So if you like things like a lighter form of, and this is not a straight comparison because Mage Knight is a puzzle of a game for sure, but it has that aspect of essentially having an idea of what's coming at you and trying to mitigate some of that, as well as the unknown. These summon cards are a part of all that excitement as well. And you've got just so many different creatures that can come at you, some of which you'll see duplicates of throughout here, but there's a ton of variability in what's going to be popping out of the darkness to come after you. So I'll just kind of rip through all of these because there's a whole bunch of them. And I believe to the side here off camera, I've got a whole other pack that's a little bit smaller than what I'm going through right now, but just adds more content into the game. Zombie hordes. Now, some of this stuff you guys will be familiar. Again, if you watch the Kickstarter preview, some of these actually popped up and gave me grief as I tried to combat them during that playthrough, and that was a lot of fun. So that is actually the first major deck worth of cards in this box. So here's another set of standard size cards, and these cards might be considered deluxe or Kickstarter exclusive cards. That'll be part of the fun. You might have to go to the Kickstarter page to determine which ones are part of the deluxe set, but I can tell you right now that this one came in a smaller pack than those other standard cards, and we were looking at the mini cards in the last couple segments. The very first one was the larger pile, and the second one was much smaller, and maybe that one, the smaller pile, was which comprised itself of 2 sets of character cards or abilities. That might be specific to the deluxe edition. It might be worth looking into that if you're looking to pick the game up. But just to move along here with the standard cards, we got the Summoning Circle, we got the Wizard's Cottage, Desert Ruins, again, just adding more variability into the game. The Catacombs, the Cursed Cathedral. I'm expecting to see some enemies in here as well as these locations to deal with. So that's pretty cool. The Ruined Gate. Again, the artwork looks awesome, and yes, there is indeed some more creatures to deal with. The Phantom Cat. You've got the Corrupt Druid. Oh, that's so cool. The artwork really is very, very nice, and I could definitely stare at it for quite some time. Quite happy with how it turned out. And this final version does, even the card quality itself here, feels so much better than the original prototype. You can also expect to find some baggies inside of the box, which is handy for actually storing away your cards if you're not planning on sleeving them, or even if you are. So we're going to start off here with the Rangers character board. You can see the abilities can be slotted in here. Dice are referenced up here, what type of character this is, the ability for the character, so the Rangers card itself. Again, the quality of this is much nicer than the prototype was, very glossy and nice. Quick reference on the back, which is fantastic, so shows exactly how everything works. Again, keeping you away from that rule book, which is fantastic. Moving right along, we got the Beastmaster. It even has a tamed creature limit 2 here in the middle, special for this character. Set Trap is the ability on the bottom here. And on the back of the card, this should be very much the same of what we saw already. So again, just more quick references. The Warrior, another character you can choose inside the game. Wood Axe to increase the firewood, because you're always trying to keep that fire burning here in Set a Watch, so you can see further down the line and reveal more enemies, which is always useful. The Rogue here, you'll notice this is where the dice start changing. So again, depending on the type of character you're choosing, you're going to see your dice change from D8s to D6s to mixes, all that good stuff. So you got your ability here prepared. And this one here is the Wizard. The Wizard's got a really cool teleport ability. And finally here we have the Cleric, who has, of course, the heal ability. Now there's a couple, I believe, promo characters specific to the Deluxe Edition or Kickstarter Edition, so we're going to take a look at those right now. The last two characters inside the box here for the Deluxe Edition is the Knight, and the Knight has the ability to assist, which is absolutely handy in almost every situation, and the Bard, who's multi-talented. The game box itself, as I mentioned earlier on, is used even the inside of the box, not just the cover, but right here you see the horde cards and the unused locations. Those are those standard cards we just went through. So again, when you're actually playing the game, you're going to flip this thing this way facing yourself, or you'll be running this down the center of your table. But it's really cool to see that they're utilizing the box itself to actually be used during gameplay. I like that a lot, especially in a small footprint game. This is a game that I could absolutely see taking camping with me would be really cool, and it would have been actually fun to do that recently when I went away, because this would be a perfect game, and especially theme-wise, building up a fire and everything, to be playing there. So again, hopefully this unboxing helps you make an informed decision on whether or not you want to pick up Set a Watch. Thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, keep on rolling solo.